Today, we're going to discuss where to sell your baseball cards. And this is one hobby that is interesting in the fact that you can use it as a way to bond with your children. You can use it to have fun and enjoyment. And then afterwards, you can sell it back for not only what you originally paid for it, but even make a profit. So these are the many ways that I can share with you on how to sell those baseball cards. Now, there are many miscellaneous areas where to sell your baseball cards, and some of them are very familiar, but we'll just review them real quickly. One is card shows. And so Cardboard Connections has put out a site where you can see what card shows are in your area that you attend, and you collect your cards and set up a booth and you can sell them. And there's advantages to this because you don't have to ship them, you don't have to pay for postage and so forth, and people are there, you can discuss them and they can see the card, feel it, and sometimes you can sell those cards, especially the low grade cards that are more difficult to sell in the other ways that we're going to discuss later on. Sometimes they have card shows at malls, and certainly there are national conventions, but a lot of times those are for the upscale card sellers. But nonetheless, there are many ways to sell cards through card shows. There's also hobby shops. This would be convenient, certainly, but you have to respect these owners that they have to make a profit. So a lot of times what they'll offer you for the cards, it may be convenient, but it won't be exactly the price you were looking for. Then there are yard sales and garage sales. And again, the traffic won't be that great, but you never know. There might be someone who comes across some cards and they're just collectors and you can purchase, and the sale is very easy to conduct. There are also flea markets, which are sort of like card shows, but they have a lot of things that are for sale, and people are not necessarily going to these to find cards, but certainly some option. Then there are antique stores or antique malls where people will either put up a booth or the store themselves will take those collectibles on consignment. There are estate sales. Probably these are more for the people who want to buy cards, probably not as likely as one would sell them unless it's a relative that's passed away and you're selling their estate. And then there are pawn shops that also pretty much, as the sign says, will sell anything of value, and that's a possibility. And then there are local and state fairs. So there are many options, and sometimes it takes a little more time and not as much of a profit, but nonetheless, a technique to basically sell some of those cards that have been lying around perhaps for years. Now, what we know, and what most people probably do who have large collections, they will go on the internet and sell the cards. And the gold standard, which is what everyone's familiar with, is eBay. And it has a lot of positives and some other considerations that would make one seek out other ways to sell those cards on the internet. So what this will basically alert you to is to decentralize the basic sources of buying and selling and look at other areas besides eBay. And there also are, besides the places we'll talk about and just kind of very briefly, but there also are things that you can do it more locally, like Facebook Marketplace and Instagram, Twitter, and Craigslist. And the list goes on, and we're not going to discuss all these at length, and there are many similarities and differences, and they change from time to time. So whatever I do share with you in this little talk, it will be only for the moment, and you probably need to check, and you'll see the sites listed here for you. So eBay, again, is often considered to be the largest and most trusted marketplace of trading cards. So the largest and trusted are key issues here for people who are considering to sell their cards. And eBay, you get the most exposure, and the more exposure you get, the number of people seeing it, the more likely that you'll have sales. But on the other end of the spectrum, you also have a lot of sellers, and the sellers can undersell you so that you're kind of brought to a point where in order to sell it, you have to reduce the price perhaps that you would like to get. There's a massive influx of cards on the site, so there's more availability to people who are looking for cards, and that's why they would seek this as a source to purchase. They also can be used as a reference source to determine the market price. So many times you say, well, what is this card going for? What can I sell? What can I expect to get for? And usually just by looking on eBay, not only can you see it for the past several months, but the price guide features that tracks previous sales for the past year. And for people who are buying cards, usually they might have a card that they can't find anywhere, but you probably are able to find it on eBay. And they alone are probably responsible for driving the prices of cards down. Obviously, if someone's advertising a card that's very, very expensive and you get all excited that you can sell the card for the same price, once eBay starts letting it out on their site, the price goes down, goes down, goes down, whatever people have to do to sell that card. And so the value goes down too. So it's kind of a win situation, but it can also make it difficult for sellers. But eBay is considered a simple and no hassle way of entering the sports card market. So when people are beginning, it's kind of a good entry level. Now, there is one thing that one needs to consider in terms of selling on eBay, and that is, which is a good thing, is that you develop a reputation. So you're rated by the people you sell to, and people are looking for sellers that have 100% satisfaction. And so you have to be very careful in terms of you being the seller to the buyer, that you don't get less than certainly a 95% in terms of satisfaction. And therefore, it really is something that eBay kind of satisfies the buyer more than the seller. So seller's fee, of course, is going to be, they're not doing this for nothing. So it's 12.35% of the final sale value. But the fees are a small price to pay for the number of buyers you can attract. So if you're wanting to sell the cards and certainly don't want to take forever, then that's the price that you pay. There also is the added expense of shipping. So the shipping is, and especially in today's market, it can be very, very high compared to what you're selling the card for. And it will vary depending on what you set up as your system. But you can require the buyer to pay this charge. Now, that's going to be in addition to the price of the card, and the buyer is going to consider the extra price. So many people will say free shipping, but charge a little bit more for the card, or even they'll charge a lot for shipping and actually make some profit off of the shipping. But as I say, eBay protects the buyer and also the seller. Then another thing you have to think about fees is not just in terms of what you're paying eBay to list it and giving them part of the profits, but you're also going to pay PayPal if they're paying in that format, or if you're insuring the card that is being sent to the individual. So there are expenses. So to try to sell a card that maybe you think is valued at $1 or $2, by the time it's sold on eBay, your profit may be minimal. So another kind of area that people look to is COMC, selling and fulfillment center, all in one. So not only do you sell the card, but they also take care of the shipping and the handling and the processing of that card. So you can find cheap ungraded cards and buy from multiple sellers and pay only one shipping cost. So in other words, you're buying on eBay and you pick one seller, you have to pay them postage. You buy another seller, you have the card, you pay them. But this one, you can kind of have several sellers, but kind of send them all by one fee. You can find cheap cards on this site for autographs. You can sell and manage inventory and set prices. You can scan, they scan lists, service support, condition appraise, and ship to the buyer. They buy and sell without ever seeing the card. So you can buy on the site and never even get the card, but then immediately turn around and sell it after you purchase it. It saves you time, and you can sell cards sooner if you have the lowest price on the site. Okay. So COMC stands for check out my card, and you can see the site where you can go to basically set your selling up. Selling on COMC marketplace or transferring them to eBay auctions. So you can actually sell them on eBay auctions through COMC, which does, again, a lot of the fulfillment or the basically managing. The prices, again, this is just the current price as of today, what they have on their site. And they have kind of a hierarchy. So you have standard, select, as well as elite and eBay auctions. And so what they basically will say is every item sent includes actual image, front and back, catalog identification, and 90 days of free storage. And then the prices kind of go up in terms of the lower cards, which are standard select, have a maximum list price on COMC of $100, but the elite service is recommended for any card value over $50. So you do have this range. And then there is a site called Chronosio. And this site is relatively new, a Canadian marketplace. It's highly effective to sell low value cards. So this is, again, if you're selling cards of high end or low value, which sites might be better for you? And this is one that is good for low end card values. They offer card scanning and sell on eBay. It is necessary, though, to download their software to trade your cards. So in other words, you have to basically use their software to basically the sale of cards, but it's good for low value cards. Then you have Mercari. Again, the site there is listed. It was created in 2013. And it's, people will say, and this is the comments that are made on the site, that it's more seller friendly than eBay. Dubbed one of the easiest selling apps available. There's a site to learn how to sell on Mercari. You can allow up to 8 images of each item that you're selling. 3 days to ship. You have 3 days to ship. But if you ship within 24 hours, you get a kind of a notice that you are a quicker shipper, which people always appreciate, and you get more buyers perhaps. You can ship yourself or let Mercari do the shipping for you. There's a 0 listing fee, about a 10% selling fee. Payment processing is 30 cents plus 2.9% of the sale value, and it's paid in 3 to 5 days by direct deposit. MySlab is a user-driven marketplace created by collectors for collectors. And again, you can see the site. 1% seller's consignment. Encapsulated cards primarily of what they offer. PayPal is a purchase protection. Offer valid for 24 hours until it's declined. So whatever offer you get, you have 24 hours or until declined. Shipping is handled by the seller, and the cost is built into the purchase price. And raw cards, they have a condition scale within the system that will basically give a grade for those cards. Now, in 2008, pre-war card collection began. Really, the company started in 1998, but provided a trading card marketplace in 2008. And this created indices that track the performance of blue chip sports cards over the last 15 years. So you can see kind of a trend, almost like an investment trend for 15 years this company has provided. They have weekly auctions that begin on Thursday evening at 7 Pacific Standard Time and end on Sunday. And there is extended bidding beyond the end of the bidding to up the price of the card. They offer grading with CG at $20 per card. There's no fee to list items, no shipping and tax, and there is a storage fee. Now, this is just what is reported. So it's always like you have to be cautious no matter what you're doing in terms of sales that are not direct by you. So there are some scandals or rumors out there, and most people who sell or buy cards are been somewhat made aware of these. But back in 1990s, Operation Foulball discovered that vintage cards that were in PSA slabs or other slabs were basically broken down, and the cards were altered and submitted again. And so PwC was accused of this, but really the person who was doing this was a guy named Gary Moser, who did the trimming, chemical brightening, pressing, wrinkles, and submitted for better grading. So you take a card that basically got a grade of maybe 4, kind of get the card back, take it out of the case, do all this manipulation, trimming, brightening, and getting rid of the wrinkles, repackage it, and send it back to PSA, and they would give it a higher grade. Of course, this is not ethical. And in 2019, PwC was subpoenaed, but later absolved due to circumstantial evidence. So in other words, they were not necessarily ever committed to doing this act, but it's always been a question. And even PSA was questioned as having involvement, but none of this is proven. So again, just something to keep in mind that this is out there and to be very, very careful. In August of 2021, eBay accused PwC for shill bidding, and therefore they no longer can do auctions on eBay. And what does that mean is what's not allowed is bidding on your own items with another account or bidding on items being sold by someone you know. So in other words, on an auction, someone can keep on putting in bids to keep the price going up, but now have no intention to purchase it. Another site is Pabbly, and Pabbly lists and sells your baseball cards for free. There's no commission deducted on sales. Collect payment through multiple payment modes. They sell one-time or recurring subscriptions, sell and collect payment in any currency. So this is just another site that basically is set up so you can sell your cards. StockX is kind of a different approach. The buyer sees the lowest available sales price, and the seller sees the highest available buying offer. You make anonymous offers, a buyer on stock X, you are responsible for paying processing fees based on item price and location of seller. Shipping usually runs about $4.15 for individual cards and $10 for bulk or lot listings. They only accept cards for sale that are professionally graded. Pictures that are used are stock images, and buyer pays any and all local, state, and federal taxes. Slab stocks is another kind of approach. It is the most analytical and data-driven marketplace. Cards are then shown on page with current market value, historical data, and real-time sales. Each card you list on this site will automatically be listed on eBay. All the buying and selling will happen at Slabbox. Membership is limited, and it is no cost to sign up. Sports lots, another kind of site to sell, its own system for determining the condition of raw cards. So in other words, it's going to grade them based on their system, the raw cards. And at the end of the auction is not determined based on a predefined date, but instead based on the amount of time the auction goes without a bid. A lot of the links don't work on the site. So people have complained that there's all these kind of bells and whistles, but they basically don't work. But that may change, and it's just what's listed on the internet. And the graphics are somewhat low key that are used to basically list and show the cards. In addition, you can see the monthly ski schedule. You can use PayPal or credit card. There's no fee for having your card listed. The fee structure, the more cards you post in your inventory, the more you will likely sell. The more you sell, the lower your fees. When you order more than one item, you'll receive a better deal on postage. Okay. Whatnot is you get approved. You have to get approved of your inventory, and you have to get approved in terms of having a social following. People can chat, interact, auctioneer your cards, or buy now. 8% commission plus approximately 83% plus 30 cents payment processing fee for the entire transaction. You can use PayPal or direct deposits. PayPal will provide for the tax collector the appropriate 1099 information at the end of the year. For 2022, the requirement for 1099s will be sent if you have received $600 or more in payments. Lou app is a card show in your pocket. So this is really, as you'll see, more designed really for the buyers, an app for buyers only. You can follow specific sellers and receive notification when they start a stream. So the big sellers are going to kind of use Lupe, and all sellers are vetted by Lupe, which gives the buyer confidence they are buying from trusted sellers. Lupe's goal is to help build a community around sellers and streamline the payment processing so the card business can focus on growing their business. And there are no personal. So this wouldn't be a site where one who has just cards to sell would go to, but large card dealers would engage in this particular site. Blowout cards. Okay, they don't let you sell or trade sports cards. You will need to visit the online blowout store and see if you have any cards from the want list, and then you work with them in terms of if they're needing the cards that you have in your collection. In most cases, you must sell open boxes from the last 5 years. So basically, you have boxes that you purchased in the last 5 years. Then this particular site will help you resell those. Okay, Crux Cards. Buys common, so that's kind of unique in that sense. 5,000 plus for $10 to $15, and even cards from 2000 to the present. They also purchase pre-1977 cards, so that's their kind of cutoff point in terms of that junk wax era, and called vintage cards. Crux has an extensive pricing list, so you can check how much your collection is worth approximately before selling. Crux will buy your entire collection. So if you say, okay, I got all these cards, I don't want to go to all the trouble to sell them each individually and so forth, then they will kind of assess your collection and give you an offer. ODIA, which stands for One Team International Agency. This particular site buys entire collections. Usually they're calling vintage before 1975. Describe your collection via an email or a phone call, so kind of more of a direct relationship, and send pictures of your collection. Submit an asking price. They will still buy 1985 to 95 if your collection also contains vintage cards. So in other words, you have a large vintage collection. You also have those kind of wax era cards, 1985 to 1995. They'll also consider purchasing those with the vintage cards. And then they also offer a finder's fee for someone that would basically want to buy or sell the cards of 10% of the sales. Offer up. This, you need to download their free app. After downloading the app, you can upload pictures of your cards with your phone, write a brief description, and set your selling price. You communicate with the potential buyer inside the app to negotiate a sale. Best for selling cheaper cards online. So again, we're always looking for this place to kind of get in contact with people who want the cards from the junk card era or cheaper cards that we have that are more difficult to sell. This is a place to do that. Local meetups are free, but you pay about 13% service fee when shipping an item. Dave and Adams, Card World. The individual cards that you have need to be worth greater than or equal to $50 or have a professional grade. These are the different grades they accept. Vintage, raw, ungraded from 1970. So we've had kind of examples of before 1978, before 1975, before 1970 that they'll even start to consider selling those cards. They sell sealed packs and complete sets. They ship by UPS or FedEx and receive payment within 48 hours. There's a $25 bonus for selling $500, and they use PayPal or store credit. Okay, Tony E Trade. Okay, this is instant offers on extremely valuable cards. So now we're getting into the high-end kind of vintage cards for people who are real kind of long-term collectors, investment people. Other cards accepted on its consignment. Fees are steep and will vary based on the arrangement. So usually the places that are selling the high ends and which are making a lot of money off these cards, the fees are basically higher, but then again, the profits are higher too. Okay, so now we move from this basically apps and online selling of your cards to the actual auctions, which some of them are kind of crossovers. So some of the places also offer auctions. So one of the big names in the auctions has now become Collectors Holdings, and that's Golden Auctions or Collectors Holdings. Again, on consignment, join forces with the parent company of PSA, PCGS, and WATA. And there's the email site to schedule a consultation to review your items and guide you through the entire selling process. So this is, again, the high end, the kind of very old cards, probably the early 50s and earlier in terms of those cards. And, you know, they get people who are willing to pay those amounts for those cards. Fees and costs vary based upon variables such as the quality, the quantity, and value of your collection. Okay, other auction houses, which I won't go in depth, but I have available for you on this slide, the name, the website, as well as the number to contact. So these are kind of done on an individual basis, very high-end cards, probably well over $100 for cards, and many into the thousands that you see so often, but probably many people can't afford. Again, for more of these that are kind of high-end auction cards from credible and companies that have been in business for a while and have good reputations. Okay. Now you also have, in addition to kind of selling it yourself at collector shows and flea markets and so forth, and then you have the apps and selling online like eBay and COMC, and then you also have the auctions. But additionally, you have forums, your chance to chat and bargain with fellow collectors for trading cards. So it's kind of like a communication. Here it is, I'm putting this stuff on the forum. People read it, they kind of are interested. We talk, they might even ask you, do you have other cards available? And it can kind of be a very kind of socialization type of experience. I'm not going into these in great detail. These are all listed for you here in terms of logos and here in terms of the actual sites that, so you search online for sports card forums and you keep that in quotes, and the most visited sites will appear first because of how many people visit per day. So in other words, if you're looking at the ones that are most active, it's certainly the ones that are listed first once you put in sports cards forums into Google or whatever search engine. And you see you have quite a number, and there are many more that I haven't included in that. Some of the big ones are the Beckett Marketplace. You can click on register at the top of the homepage. Either use your Facebook account to sign up or through a preferred email. Click on the organize option. There's a 5% seller's fee. But selling is not currently available in the trade tool. So again, this is more of a buyer's market, though eventually it might kind of change to a seller's and buyer's market. Selling on the marketplace is reserved for very large wholesalers. So some of these kind of interactions are for the big sellers of cards, stores and so forth, and not for the individual investor. A PSA, which is mostly known for grading cards, but they also have a forum that's available. which you can sell your unwanted sports cards online, list the sport card you want to sell, and connect with potential buyers. To get started on the platform, sign up and register for an account. After you sign up, you'll be good to go to check out the different forums on the site, bargain with fellow collectors for trading. So pretty much it's all a similar kind of a bargaining back and forth, and more or less probably more valuable for the person who is not only selling but still collecting and kind of building their collection and then getting rid of. Only the old days it used to be, I have a lot of doubles, I'll trade them for cards that I'm looking for to put in my collection. Okay. And then there's this popular on the internet now, the box breaking, where you can add cards to your collection, or a technique for selling your unopened wax boxes. So that individuals will take and they will break open a box or case of cards on live stream, so you can actually enter at a certain time. And prior to that, you can basically bid for basically a particular card package or a particular case or what have you. In advance of opening the box, the breaker will seal packs, teams, players, or divisions for set prices. If you buy in, you get the cards pulled from the pack, team, player, or division you purchase. Okay, so now we have looked at ways to get rid of those kind of low price cards, the kind of cards that are high price, cards that are collectors are looking for, kind of hot items and so forth. And now we still have left these common cards, or cards that are of that junk wax era, and we don't really want to throw them away, but what are some things we can do with those cards, especially from the 80s and 90s? So these are just some suggestions. You can donate them to hospitals, girls or boys clubs, or civic clubs. One place to kind of contact is carson-cards.org. You can do garage or yard sales. We mentioned that before, but $30 a box, and let them have it for $20 when they actually come to see you. You can have grab bags where you have kind of one somewhat valuable card in the bags, and people are kind of excited that I'll get at least one card that's worth more than the bag I'm paying for it. And therefore you seed the cards with vintage cards and stars. You can donate the cards to charities, and that can serve as a tax write-off, or take them to Goodwill and you get a tax write-off. Advertise in local newspapers or shopper papers. Give them to a neighbor, someone who has a child and so forth that's interested, and be a good neighbor. You can also take and barter for labor service. In other words, trade the cards, and in exchange you get someone to mow your lawn or to fix something or what have you. Halloween, hand out packages of cards instead of candy. Use them in art projects, collages, and so forth, kids' school reports. Save them for your grandkids. You'll never know when they become popular again. In other words, over 20 years, it kind of springs every kind of 2 decades where the cards become popular again in the community. I use them for getting autographs through the mail. So in other words, you can basically write to players and they will sign the cards and send them back, and you can collect autographs with them. So if you are interested in learning more about information regarding the baseball card industry, the history of baseball cards, profiting and investing in baseball cards, or ideas to bring the fun back to collecting, be sure to follow us below. Feel free to view our library of YouTube videos, and please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. Also, check our eBay store, where we have available for sale many of the cards shown on our videos. Thank you for listening. Take the rest of the day off, and we'll talk later.